Tiffany Henyard in court today over illegal appointments she allegedly made for several positions inside the village, among them.
I'm a private investigator. I've got this envelope that says Super Mayor. Inside I have from the United States District Court, Northern District of Illinois.
It's the kind of drama that feels like it's been ripped straight out of a TV show. But this is real life in Thornton Township and Dolton, Illinois. Mayor Tiffany Henyard, who has proudly referred to herself as the super mayor, has been at the center of controversy for years. From her bold leadership style to allegations of corruption and extravagant spending, Henyard's tenure has been nothing short of a roller coaster ride. But the latest twist in this saga has left everyone stunned. Federal agents arrested her at her Dolton home, marking a dramatic turning point in her political career. This shocking development has left residents divided, with some calling it justice served and others crying foul, claiming Henyard is a victim of political sabotage.
Last month, the judge issued a temporary restraining order blocking her from making those appointments without approval from trustees.
Let's rewind and unpack how we got to this point. Tiffany Henyard rose to prominence with big promises and an even bigger personality. She didn't just want to be a mayor or township supervisor, she wanted to be a force of nature. Branding herself the super mayor, Henyard plastered her face on billboards, event flyers, and even welcome signs, making sure no one in Dolton or Thornton Township could forget who was in charge. Some admired her charisma, describing her as a relatable leader who wasn't afraid to shake things up. Others, however, saw her self-promotion as a red flag, accusing her of prioritizing her image over the needs of her community. From the beginning, her leadership style raised eyebrows. Board meetings often turned into shouting matches, with Henyard clashing with trustees who accused her of bypassing protocols and making decisions unilaterally. Residents who attended these meetings described the chaos as both entertaining and deeply concerning. Her supporters cheered her on, claiming she was a strong woman standing up to entrenched political forces. Her critics, though, saw her actions as reckless and self-serving.
Called our security firm, we made sure they had wands, and we also told our board to come upstairs due to the fact they had several ways to exit out of the building.
One of the earliest controversies that put Henyard in the spotlight was her use of township funds. Reports surfaced that she had charged tens of thousands to government credit cards for what appeared to be personal expenses. These weren't small purchases either. Think high-end furniture and luxury travel. One particularly jaw-dropping revelation was a spending spree on an online retailer, where she reportedly spent over $40,000 in a single day. Community members were outraged, demanding to know why their tax money was being used for what they saw as frivolous indulgences. Henyard denied any wrongdoing, claiming these expenses were all for the benefit of the township. But as more details emerged, her explanation started to wear thin. Then there was the infamous skating rink project. Marketed as a community initiative, the project cost millions but left residents scratching their heads. The rink was rarely open, and when it was, it seemed more like a venue for Henyard's personal events than a public space. Critics called it a vanity project, accusing her of using it to boost her image rather than genuinely serve the community. Her supporters, however, argued that she was trying to bring something positive to Dolton, and that her efforts were being unfairly criticized.
We believe strongly that that meeting was improperly called and improperly held. The residents of Dolton.
But the skating rink was far from the only project that raised questions about Henyard's priorities. Residents were also outraged at her decision to allocate township funds to a series of concerts featuring relatively unknown performers. These events, branded as community engagement initiatives, reportedly cost over $80,000 in taxpayer money, with some concerts drawing fewer than 50 attendees. Critics called it a blatant misuse of public funds, while Henyard's office described the events as an attempt to bring cultural enrichment to Thornton Township. One resident quipped, "We're struggling to keep our streets clean, and she's out here throwing parties nobody asked for." Another sore point was her handling of township buses, which were frequently used to transport her supporters to various political events. During the controversial caucus that saw her denied a spot on the ballot, multiple witnesses reported that Henyard's buses arrived late, leaving her supporters stranded outside in the cold. While Henyard claimed this was evidence of voter suppression orchestrated by her opponents, others saw it as a sign of her administration's disorganization. She wanted to pack the caucus with her people, but she couldn't even manage that properly, one attendee remarked. The image of seniors waiting outside in freezing temperatures became a flashpoint for criticism, with some saying it symbolized her disregard for the very people she claimed to represent.
Next thing is my vetoes. So I got several vetoes here that the board has.
Adding to the frustration was Henyard's ongoing feud with the Dolton Park District, a separate government entity. Park officials alleged that Henyard deliberately withheld permits for park improvements, jeopardizing grants worth hundreds of thousands. Without those permits, projects to upgrade playgrounds and other recreational facilities risk losing funding, potentially leaving taxpayers on the hook for the costs. Henyard's critics accused her of using the permit delays as a form of political retaliation, as the park district had allowed her opponents to host meetings on its property. Her office denied the allegations, But the delays fueled accusations that her leadership was more focused on settling personal scores than serving the community. As the controversies piled up, Henyard's relationship with the Dolton Village Board of Trustees deteriorated further. Trustees accused her of making major decisions without their approval, including hiring key officials. One such hire was her handpicked police chief, who was reportedly unqualified for the role. The appointment sparked outrage, with critics claiming it was yet another example of Henyard's disregard for proper governance. A judge later ruled that the chief could only serve in an interim capacity, adding to the growing list of legal challenges Henyard faced.
Of court, the judge today declining to hold her in contempt, but did warn her that if she did not follow the ruling, he would.
But perhaps the most damaging accusations were financial. A preliminary report on Dolton's finances painted a grim picture. The township's general fund had gone from a healthy surplus to a massive deficit in just a few years under Henyard's leadership. Allegations of mismanagement and missing funds fueled calls for an investigation. Former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot, brought in as a special investigator, described the situation as dire, highlighting questionable spending patterns and a lack of transparency in financial records. Henyard, unsurprisingly, dismissed the report as a political attack, accusing her opponents of conspiring to tarnish her reputation. Despite the mounting scandals, Henyard remained defiant. She frequently took to social media, broadcasting live videos where she passionately defended herself and lashed out at her critics. In one particularly fiery stream, she declared, "They don't want to see a strong black woman in power. But guess what? I'm not going anywhere." Her supporters rallied behind her, echoing her claims that she was being unfairly targeted. But her critics saw these outbursts as further proof of her inability to lead effectively.
Because all this point the finger to Tiffany or allow me, I'm over it. Now it's time for me.
Things took an even darker turn when federal investigators began looking into her administration. Rumors swirled for months about subpoenas and secret interviews with witnesses. The investigation reportedly focused on allegations of embezzlement, misuse of public funds, and obstruction of justice. Then came the arrest of one of Henyard's close allies, a high-ranking police officer accused of bankruptcy fraud. Many saw this as a sign that the investigation was closing in on Henyard herself.
A Dolton home that she leased to Mayor Tiffany Henyard has filed eviction papers. She says Henyard has not paid her rent, and now she wants her.
And then, it happened. In the early hours of the morning, federal agents arrived at Henyard's home and arrested her. Witnesses reported seeing her boyfriend, a controversial figure in his own right, watching as she was led away in handcuffs. The charges against her are still under wraps, but sources suggest they include serious financial crimes and misconduct. The community's reaction was immediate and intense. Some residents celebrated, saying it was about time Henyard was held accountable for her actions. One person commented online, "It's about time that this sociopath is held accountable for stealing from the taxpayers." Others, however, were quick to defend her, arguing that the arrest was politically motivated. One supporter wrote, "The community that elected her deserves her. This is just another example of powerful people trying to silence someone who's making waves." In the wake of her arrest, the township and village are left grappling with the fallout. Her critics see this as an opportunity to finally bring accountability and transparency to local government. But her supporters remain steadfast, insisting that Henyard has been unfairly targeted. The divide within the community is palpable, with emotions running high on both sides.
Henyard says she is endorsing a new board, but not announcing who they are just yet, instead promising to name them later this month. Henyard is under investigation by the FBI.
So what happens now? Henyard's case is sure to dominate headlines in the coming months as the legal process unfolds. Will she fight the charges and maintain her innocence? Or will this be the end of her political career? And what does this mean for the future of Dolton and Thornton Township? One thing is certain, this saga is far from over. As residents reflect on her dramatic rise and fall, they're left to wonder what could have been done differently and whether their community can recover from the chaos. What do you think? Was Henyard unfairly targeted? Or is this a long overdue reckoning for a leader who let power go to her head? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. This story is just getting started, and we'll be here to bring you all the updates as they unfold. Stay tuned.